Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome back to our final 2 chapters in our Calendar Mysteries February Friend novel. Again, we left you the last time with a cliffhanger where poor Mr. Neater, feeling super sad because he can't leave Douglas and he can't take Douglas. And they've got to figure out how to solve this problem. So chapter 11 is called Bradley's Dream. Bradley's mom offered Mr. Neater a ride home in her car. Douglas's ears stood straight up when they put him back in his cage. His nose was twitching and his eyes were bright. "Look how happy he is," Bradley said. "I can keep him for 2 more weeks," Mr. Neater said. "But I don't know what I'm going to do when I move." Bradley remembered the boy with the bike basket Ellie had mentioned. "Do you have a grandson?" he asked Mr. Neater. "Yes, his name is Myron," Mr. Neater said. "He lives in Vermont." "Could he take Douglas?" Bradley asked. Mr. Neater shook his head. "I already thought of that, but Myron's mom is allergic," he said. If you are allergic to something, it can look very different for different people. So sometimes people get very runny noses, their eyes water, but sometimes they can have more severe reactions. They have trouble breathing, they get hives or little bumps all over their body. So everyone's reaction is a little bit different, but his body reacts to it, does not like the rabbit fur or dander sometimes. So mom is allergic. After Mr. Neater and Douglas left, the kids sat in a circle. They rolled the ball back and forth between them. "We have to think of something," Bradley said. "I have an idea," Brian said. "We can hypnotize Douglas into thinking Mr. Veray is Mr. Neater." The other 3 kids just looked at Brian. "You can't hypnotize animals," Nate said. "Who says?" Brian asked. "I saw on TV there were these people who put an alligator to sleep by rubbing his belly." "But that's not hypnotizing," Lucy said. "Besides, rabbits are smarter than alligators. Douglas would know that Mr. Veray isn't Mr. Neater." "Guys, we need a plan here," Bradley said. But no one could think of one. That night, Bradley had a dream. In his dream, Douglas was playing in a big meadow of wildflowers. Hundreds of other rabbits were in the field with him. The rabbits chased each other and tumbled in the tall grass and flowers. Bradley woke up the next morning with a plan. He woke his brother, then called Lucy and Nate. After breakfast, Bradley and Brian walked down Main Street. They cut between the town hall and the Shangri-La Hotel. Lucy and Nate were waiting for them at the town petting zoo. "This is a great idea," Lucy said. "Douglas can live here with the other animals, and Mr. Neater can come visit him anytime he wants." "That's what I thought," Bradley said. "They have other rabbits here too." The kids walked into the petting zoo office. A man with a friendly face was sitting at a desk. He wore a dark green shirt with a petting zoo patch on the sleeve. "Can I help you?" he asked. The kids walked over to the man's desk. Suddenly, a little furry face peeked out of one of the desk drawers. "Don't mind Slinky," the man said. "He's a ferret. Very sweet, very friendly." The kids all petted Slinky. "And my name is Barney," the man went on. "How can I help you?" "We have a friend who has a pet rabbit," Bradley said. He told Barney all about the problem Mr. Neater was having with Douglas. "Can Douglas come here and live?" Barney shook his head. "I'm afraid we have a problem too," he said. "We may have to shut down the petting zoo." Uh-oh. This is Barney in the office of the petting zoo. In theory, it was a really great idea. He'd have friends, he'd have lots of people to come and pet him. This is Douglas, obviously. It was a great idea, but we learned that Barney is saying they might have to close down the petting zoo. And then just here where my finger is, don't miss sweet Slinky down there, who peeks his little head up out of that top desk drawer in a very sweet way. So again, another cliffhanger, but today is the day that we finish it through to the end. So chapter 12, The Perfect Plan. Why? All 4 kids asked at once. There are 3 of us working here, Barney told the kids, Brenda, Tom, and me. We feed the animals, make sure they get exercise, clean their cages, do just about everything. But I'm going back to college, and Brenda's getting married and moving away. That leaves just Tom, and he can't do everything by himself. Barney picked up Slinky and set him on his shoulder. We'll have to find homes for all the animals if we close, he said. I'm taking Slinky with me to college. Bradley thought about all the other animals at the petting zoo. He'd been coming here since he was a baby. So you see why we can't take your friend's rabbit, Barney said. We can't even keep our own rabbits. Just then, Barney's telephone rang. He waved goodbye to the kids and answered the phone. The kids walked outside. They cut between the town hall and the library to West Green Street. Is this where Mr. Neater will be living? Lucy asked. She pointed to the building next to the police station. Yeah, it's a nice place, Bradley said. Our mom volunteers there once a week, Brian added. She helps the people do art projects and stuff. Oh my gosh, I got it, Bradley cried. Got what? His brother asked. A new plan, but first, we have to go see Mr. Neater again. Bradley explained his idea on the way. 5 minutes later, they knocked on Mr. Neater's front door. Mr. Neater answered. He was holding Douglas in his arms. Well, hello again, the man said. Come in out of the cold. The kids piled their coats on a chair. We have an idea about Douglas, Bradley said. Mr. Neater was stroking Douglas's long, silky ears. Please tell us. We're all ears, he said with a grin. The kids told Mr. Neater about their visit to the petting zoo. They explained what Barney told them about the place maybe having to close down. Douglas might love living there, Mr. Neater said, but if they're going to shut down, they wouldn't have to shut down if they had more people to take care of the animals, Lucy put in. We thought you could volunteer there after you retire from the school, Bradley said. That way you could still see Douglas every day and he wouldn't feel lonely, Nate added. Mr. Neater stared at the 4 kids. Volunteering at the petting zoo might be fun, he said after a minute, and it's only a few minutes' walk from the elderly housing. You'll do it? Bradley cried. Mr. Neater smiled. If it's okay with Douglas, it's okay with me. Douglas went to live at the petting zoo. Mr. Neater moved into the elderly housing and began volunteering at the zoo. He saw his rabbit every day. One Saturday, the kids decided to pay Mr. Neater a visit at the zoo. What a surprise they got when they walked into the warm animal building. Bradley saw at least 10 elderly people, older people who live in the home, wearing dark green shirts. One man was brushing a small goat. A woman was placing fresh straw in cages. 2 men were washing the floor with a garden hose. Mr. Neater walked over to the kids. He was holding Douglas. Hey kids, he said. Hi, Mr. Neater, the kids said. Who are all these people? Bradley asked. They're all volunteers from the housing, Mr. Neater said. I got them to agree to help out here at the zoo. They love the animals, and the animals get a lot more care and attention. A woman with white hair walked by with a bag of corn in her hand. A white duck followed behind her, quacking loudly. Bradley smiled. His plan had worked. Can I hold Douglas? He asked. Mr. Neater placed Douglas in Bradley's arms. The rabbit sniffed Bradley's sweater. Then he closed his eyes and snuggled into the soft wool. That last chapter was called A Perfect Plan. Not only does Douglas find a new home, Mr. Neater finds kind of a new purpose in life. So sometimes when you retire from your job, it can sometimes be a sad time for people. They've worked their whole lives and now they oftentimes kind of don't know what to do with themselves. And now Mr. Neater has found a perfect way to be able to spend time with Douglas every single day, but he's also gotten help as well. Lots of his friends from the home have also come to volunteer at the petting zoo as well. And the animals are getting even better care because there's more people there to help out. And then just kind of a silly picture with that duck and her little ducklings following behind her. So it did end up being the perfect plan for everyone, people and animals alike. I hope you guys really enjoyed this February Friend Calendar Mysteries story. Feel free to comment with your favorite part of this story. I would love to hear it. And hopefully we will get to do another one of these very soon. Until next time, friends.